Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I am doing pretty good. Slow season right now for us up here in the Midwest.
Yeah, yep. I'm right there with you.
Thanks for being my first actual interview for the podcast.
No problem.
This is Tyler with CST Detailing and Wraps. I'm with Josh, who is one of the guys that knows the PNS products, probably one of the best. I go to him a lot for certain stuff. Anytime there's a class for the IDA, especially if you guys are running it, I typically pay attention. I think every time that you guys have done a class, I'm on my like fourth notebook now for you guys. So it does bring a lot of awareness to detailers, especially if you're looking for products that are going to work properly. Um, I know you can't see it because it's off camera, but I have a whole herd of just the main products that I use from PNS. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions about those. And then when we wrap it up, I'll just fire off some questions about how you got started and, what your favorite cars were, who's your favorite customer to work for. But to start off with, I know we do the wash first. Iron remover. This is something that I have yet to test out, and I'm excited. I did get it finally. I got the crystal wash.
Yep, you're gonna love that one.
So I've had a lot of people tell me, cold water's okay, hot water's great. Just it depends on what your setup is. What is the actual PNS thing for the crystal wash and how to properly use it?
So, I mean, the way you're gonna want to use Crystal Wash is before you even touch the vehicle with water or anything at all, you're gonna apply that to the vehicle.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's hot water or cold water.
No, no, no.
Okay,
Uh,
so if let's say I have because our major coating that we put on for people is Nano Pro,
mhm.
um, we have to iron remove it, buff it, clean it, and strip it. Just
Yep.
what you do for a normal ceramic coating. Um, so we're supposed to spray this on first.
Yeah, that's your very first step.
Okay, how long do we let it sit for the crystal wash?
Let it completely dry.
Let it completely dry.
So that way it can crystallize and do its job.
See, the nice thing is when I first got it, I had the iron remover.
Yeah.
Hate that stuff. I think every detailer out there knows that stuff smells like rotten eggs.
It's very effective stuff, but it is extremely expensive and it smells really bad.
And one thing I noticed when I opened it, because I was going to try to use it, but I didn't know how to use it yet. Um, I didn't smell anything. It was
Yeah,
refreshing.
it's got a little bit of an acid tinge to it, but I mean it's nothing like iron remover.
Exactly. That's kind of one of the things that I actually liked. And then the next product, we use this a lot actually for car shows. We'll have customers say, "Hey, can you clean our car off for us quickly?" Because we go to way more car shows than we probably should. I'm sure our tax person doesn't like it, but absolute.
Okay, yeah, yep,
This is one of our favorite things to use at the shop, especially if it's a customer that comes in. It's just a quick clean on the
yeah,
outside, and it's not too muddy, not too nasty. This is, I think, our sixth bottle of this stuff.
yeah.
And then you said something about absolute on carpet. That was one of the IDA classes. So can you explain more on that for me?
The theory behind that one was we didn't actually use it to clean carpet. We put it in our steamer. So
Okay.
put absolute in your steamer, it's going to add a little bit of cleaning power in your steamer as well as whatever product you're using at the moment. So in that instance, we were using our carpet system, which is of step one, step two, step three, which is the Terminator, carpet bomber, and finisher. When we did the Terminator and carpet bomber, we let them dwell, and then I went at it with the steamer with some absolute in it. That's just going to help a little bit, get a little more cleaning power out of it. Absolute has a ton of different uses.
Really? We're just used to doing the bucket. We found like the two caps for a 5 gallon bucket, nice warm water. We have a sprayer that we spray it all over, let it dwell on the paint. Um, we actually have customers that'll sit there and watch their car
Yeah,
as all the dust and dirt lift up onto the stuff themselves. And they're like, that's not going to hurt anything. No, we'll be just fine. So,
it's great stuff, and you can, I mean, depending on how you dilute it, you can use it as a glass cleaner. I mean, you can use it as a quick detailer for the inside, outside, pretty much anything you want to do with it, you can.
I've actually ran into a pinch where I didn't have any more of the interior PNS cleaner. So I'm like, I'm just gonna add just a little bit of Absolute in a regular spray bottle, spray it on the rag, wipe the dash off. I think that worked just as well as the interior cleaner did.
It's a great product.
So that really shocked me. And then I have one that I get a lot of hate for, and it's people that are new to the detailing industry, and it is this stuff because they're used to using wheel acid. They're not used to using brake buster.
All right.
Do you want to break that down for them? What's the difference between, because I've seen this stuff work. This stuff,
Yeah.
I don't even want to touch the rims when I'm done.
Yeah.
I can eat off of them when I clean with this stuff.
Yeah. Brake busters are our total wheel and tire cleaner. It's non-acid, so it's a little bit higher of a pH to get the job done. Wheel acids are kind of, they're not the safest thing in the world to use. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could really, really mess up some wheels. Brake buster is about as safe as you're going to get. And it's incredibly effective. Dave formulated that one and he hit a home run with it.
Yeah. So like I've noticed nothing against Chemex guy because he's a friend of ours when we do like our big rigs and stuff because we do across the board. It's pretty much if it has wheels and it goes and it drives, we're gonna detail it. Um he has a product called M Shine, which is a super high pH. I know he was trying to get close to what Brake Buster does, but if you leave it on too long, you're gonna etch it still.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you're going to have that with any chemical, really.
yeah.
But
But
Buster, it is very safe. It's got a nice cleanability to it. So when you spray it on the wheels, they'll sit there and kind of cling to the wheel and start cleaning.
so do you prefer that to go through like hand spray foam cannon, or do you just use like a regular spray bottle and spray it on? What is your preferred method?
My preferred, I use a regular spray bottle, just use it straight up. I know there's a lot of people out there that do use an IK foamer. And I think they dilute it like 10 to 1, 8 to 1, something like that. And I've seen it work really good. So, I mean,
Either way, I prefer the spray bottle. It's less hassle. I don't have to sit there and pump anything.
yeah, personal preference.
Yep. And then next one we're gonna go to is I found my new favorite glass cleaner. And since I do vinyl wraps, I had to go through a little more prep process when it comes to the body itself. And we found out the paint and prep glass cleaner. This is our favorite. We have 2 more gallons of this at the shop. This is probably one of my favorite things that we have on hand.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what we use to, sterilize the surface for a ceramic coating, but it is an incredibly good glass cleaner.
Yep. And
If you're going to use it as a glass cleaner, it's a little on the pricey side, compared to the traditional, like our True View. It's dilutable, 10 to 1, 8 to 1. So, I mean, it's going to cost you a little more, but it's an incredible glass cleaner.
yeah, I got glass rags, and before we were using the alcohol up here because of the fog and stuff like that, and people just don't want to be patient and wait for their cars to dethaw. I mean, I don't. I'm one of them. So we used alcohol, and I do this, and it works just the same. I haven't
yeah.
fog up or anything, so I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then, obviously, since I do wraps, we have the triple S. I don't know if you know much about this stuff, but we have these small bottles because we don't need very much of it. We found out you add too much, and you're not going to have anything stick.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we do some wraps, not a whole lot, but Triple S is not a product I'm like super, you know, hands-on with every day. But we have used it to do like, quick cleanups on wraps and PPF and stuff like that. And it's a great quick detailer if that's what you want to use it for.
What I found out about it too is because you can buff on wraps. When we started doing it, I did all the classes online for it. The Triple S actually works better than a regular finished compound does.
Really?
Yeah, and you got to go slower in a super soft pad, and it does work. It's not going to give you the exact look you want, but if you want to do just a quick buff, I found out it works great.
That's really cool. I never heard that before.
So I was testing stuff out on a piece of sheet metal with wrap on it because I wanted to test it myself and see.
We're detailers. That's what we do. We test stuff. We push its limits.
So, next one I have, as you brought it up, is I have obviously I need to order more, which I can get from my local DSI. Is your three step? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm out on the first step.
Yep.
So we ran out of this. Once I did the class with you on how to use this and the tools that I would need, I think I went out that day. I bought like mixed metallic, like it has like metal bristles and then regular soft bristles combination. And then I ordered, I know what you know what these are.
Yep. Those are money.
Yep, I ordered these and we got a big pack actually on Amazon. They're like 16 bucks on Amazon.
Super cheap.
They are the nicest things I have found out to use. I tried it on we're rebuilding a 99 Mustang for me because mine got wrecked. So we're pulling everything out and I was like, I'm gonna clean the back seats off. I'm gonna be having step kids soon. I don't want them sitting in anything dirty and nasty. Before I met the person I'm with, I didn't care how the back seats look.
Single guy.
Yeah, I'll just cover it up for a car show. Don't care. But now that they want to go to car shows with me, I'm like, I better get it clean. So I actually got to try it. This is the one I used to try it with, and the amount of crumbs and gunk that I came off that seat was staggering.
Yeah, that's an incredible tool in a detailer's arsenal.
And I
The carpet system, a lot of people don't use it like it should be used. I know a lot of people just use, step one and then they call it good, or they just use step two. And a lot of people forget about the third step, and it's actually probably the most critical step. So the way it's designed to work is your step one is your enzyme package. That's going to target your stains, your different kind of stains, your proteins and stuff like that. And then after you do that, you can scrub on that stain a little bit, come back to step two to do your general cleaning and lift all that grime out that you just loosened up. Then once you do your auto fiber UFO pad or however you're going to clean the seat, the most to me, the most important part of the system is coming back with the third step, which is the finisher. It's a peroxide treatment, so it's going to help dry the seats faster. It's going to help brighten the material a little bit. And it's kind of a deodorizer too. But the most important aspect is it's going to neutralize the first two. So the active ingredients in the Terminator and the carpet bomber, it's going to make them stop working. That way you don't resoil your vehicle when you get in there with dirty shoes that are wet. It's going to pull that crap off your shoes. With the finisher, it'll stop that, so it won't do that.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I wanted to try the UFO pads with the three step, and I had a little bit left. So I'm like, what, I'm gonna try it and actually go for it. I remember the IDA class, how you guys told us to do it. You step one, you spray it directly on the stains, scrub it in, let it do its magic. Then you go through with the carpet or the step two, UFO pad or a bristle brush. And I did that with the UFO pad, and I think I cut my normal time, which what I would have steam cleaned with, by about 2 minutes. I cut it back.
And the amount of crud you can pull out of sports seating, that really crappy stuff they use in like Chevy Equinoxes. I mean, you can just pull all the crud out of the seat with that. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, the New Edge Mustangs, their seats were never made very good, so you had to be really careful with how you cleaned them. And when I did this, I didn't feel like I was damaging it. I didn't feel like I was gonna oversteam it. It was a nice kind of relief because it's like, okay, I have to keep these looking nice, especially for when they go to shows, because that's part of my exposure out there. So I
Yeah.
show up to these car shows with my car wrapped, looking nice, coated, rims looking great, tires nice and black. So it's one of those things that if I didn't know about this, I'd probably already have ruined back seats.
Yeah. And one of the cool things about it is it's really cost effective. I mean, it really is.
I think for the amount that you pay for that, it's half the cost of what you'd have to spend on a steam cleaner, like one of the big boy ones.
Yep.
And I've never had one of those. I've always had the little, spot treatment steam
Mhm.
cleaners just because I've never dealt with anything that needed much more than that. So I didn't see the point. And especially when we got this stuff, I didn't see the point. I think I pulled my steam cleaner out once. And I'm
Yeah, and we've got in my shop, we've got a couple big ones, but we don't use them that often. We don't need to. I mean,
Yeah. So like the only time I've ever brought a steam cleaner out was for a mold job in a
yeah,
car. And the three step took care of 90% of it before I actually pulled the steam cleaner out.
yeah,
So that was, I rarely use the steam cleaner. I will every once in a while if it's like ventilation stuff and it's just standard water going through the steam cleaner. So this way I don't ruin anything more. Um, but that leads me to my next prop thing. You know, we started from the top, now we're down at the bottom. Swift.
yeah,
I found this is one of the very few products that will actually make WeatherTech clean again.
yeah. It's really good for that. Before Swift came out, my methods for cleaning like WeatherTech was, an all-purpose cleaner, degreaser, scrub the shit out of them, and then mist some natural finish on it and let them sit in the sun and dry. With Swift, you can combine that into one step. I mean, you spray it on, you clean them really good, and you wipe them down, throw them in the sun, let them dry. They look new.
Yeah, I hated WeatherTech before Swift.
Yep.
Really did. And I would tell my customers, I'm gonna try, but I have nothing that I've been able to do to get these WeatherTechs perfect every single time. Now with Swift, I'll spray it off with the power washer just because there's some major gunk buildup and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spray it off first. Then I let it dry. Then I go back over it with the Swift and then I throw it in where the sun beams down on the concrete inside our shop. We just let them sit in there and they dry and they look brand new, like they just came back.
And they're not slippery, they're not greasy. I mean, they look and feel new.
Yep. And that was the problem with some of the blackeners that we had in our shop was we do the blackening with it, and that was meant for just outside. And we do that, and you're like, man, these things are slick. They look good, but they're just way
Yeah.
too oily. So, and then I had another question. It was actually brought up by a guy that works for me part time because he has a 95 Mustang.
Okay.
He likes bead maker, but I prefer the paint and gloss
Okay. So
shows.
I'm a big bead maker fan. I've been using it, since it came out religiously. I mean, we go through 5 to 10 gallons a week. Um, Paint gloss is probably my overall favorite product just because it's so versatile. You stick a pint of paint gloss in your car, and if you spill something, clean it up with that. You can do your windows with it. It's an anti-static for a vacuum aid, so it makes dog hair easier to get out of a car.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's pretty darn good on paint. I mean, you're not going to get the most protection out of it, but for just a quick, nice enhance of the gloss and stuff like that, paint gloss is the way to go. Um, Bead maker's got a lot longer lifespan to it on your paint, and it's got a different look to it, in my opinion. Um, Bead maker's just going to make your paint pop like crazy if you let it sit and cure correctly.
So what is the correct way to apply bead maker? I know paint gloss, that's pretty much wax on, wax off, Mr. Miyagi style. Now what's the correct way for bead maker?
Bead makers, application wise, is the same way. You're gonna spray it on a panel, you're gonna rub it in, you're gonna come back and buff it off. The key to bead maker that a lot of people kind of overlook is it's got SiO2 in it. It was the original SiO2 spray sealant. So with any SiO2, you've got to let that cure to get the optimal effects. A lot of people put bead maker on the car, drive it out of the garage, you know, 30 minutes later, and it's just not going to get the same effect as if you let that thing sit for 2 hours. So let it sit for 4 hours. You know, if you do it at night, let it sit overnight, come in the next morning, look at your car, and it's just going to look completely different.
Because we have Nano Pro, obviously, because we work with them. That's our coding person. We put them on our car. My dad uses bead maker religiously on it because that nano coriant's a morphine base instead of an SiO2, so it's a little bit stronger. It's harder. You have to physically sand the car down to get it even off of the car. um, he uses bead maker, and man, does it. He's got heavy metallic wrap. It looks, I don't know if you've ever seen the Super Stallion.
Yeah.
He's got a Super Stallion mock-up,
Okay.
2000 GT, and he's got the heavy metallic wrap, so it
Mhm.
sparkles. When we first put Nano Pro on, sparkles like crazy in the sun. My dad goes a step further, puts bead maker on there before a show. I don't even want to look at the cart. It just shines.
Yeah. Beadmaker is an incredible product.
So yeah, no, that's the stuff that we use the most in our shop. And I'm venturing out trying more PNS products because everything that I've ever used of PNS is probably one of the some of the best industry changing stuff to clean with.
Yep. And that's kind of the cool thing about PNS is our products are all formulated by Dave Phillips. Bob and Dave are the owners of PNS. And I mean, Dave has formulated every product we have in our lineup. So, I mean, if something's not working right during testing, you just call up Dave, say, hey, Dave, this is what's happening. And he's can fix it on the spot.
Yeah, and that's the one thing too. It's like we use all these products, and I think we have six different places for all of these.
Mhm.
We never separate the carpet one. That's the big thing that I want to stress to people. Don't separate your carpets,
Yep.
your carpet steps. Do it step by step. It works 10 times better because I know detailers that use just the carpet bomb. And it's like,
It works, but you're not getting the full effect of the system.
and I was one of those people that just used the carpet bomb, especially with the steam cleaner. It worked, but I think I cut my time back a lot more doing the three step. Just
Yeah.
because there's three steps, you think, oh, it's going to take longer. It takes less time than it does pulling out your steam cleaner, making sure your reservoir is full. And then if
Yep.
you're working with a small one like I do, because I my shop's not big enough for a big one, um, then you're making sure your stuff is emptied, clean, ready to go because you don't want to put a dirty steam head on the carpet. So I think it's less time for just getting it done.
Yep. It's an efficient process. It really is.
Yeah, and then when it came to Swift, when we tried that out, I was really shocked to see because I hate WeatherTech with a passion. Now I can tolerate it because Swift made it 10 times easier
Mhm.
for me. And then the brake buster, man, that was a game changer because I hated using the wheel acid stuff. I mean, I knew what I was doing. My dad showed me. My dad's been a body man since he was 16 years old. So he told me, he's like, these wheel acids, you got to really watch it. And I think we trashed like five different bad rims.
Yeah.
Just
And it happens. I mean, unfortunately, that's just part of learning.
so, and we just went to the local scrapyard, picked five rims that were, aluminum. We tried it out, and I'd see the etching, and then finally I got it. But I got tired of breathing in it. I always wear a mask, and
Yep.
then brake buster. I didn't have that. Has a weird little, you could definitely tell there's high pH in there. Your hands get dry after touching it, but nothing too major. Nothing that I ever worried about. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty safe product. That's one thing about PNS is, with the exception of acids, because acids aren't good for you no matter what. They've got a very, safe product line. I
and
would,
then
but.
yeah, and then the absolute that thing saves us a lot of time and a lot of just not as high water bill, especially if they're coming in during the summertime. It's just dusty. They want it to be clean quickly. That's probably one of our favorite things is the absolute.
And then guys like us that are in the Midwest that it gets, 10 below outside, it's way better to wash a car with Absolute in the wintertime than it is to bust out a power washer and
Exactly. I prefer the absolute. Sometimes, I do clean for car lots and stuff like that. They'll have me come pick up a car that's really bad. Like, hey, come get this. And, they always sell it to where it's worse than it actually is.
yep.
And there was a truck. He's like, yeah, it's just really dirty on the outside. I get it. I'm like, it's just dusty.
Yeah.
Spray a little bit of absolute on it, let it soak, get my bucket ready while it's soaking. That's how I do it. Is I spray it on there first with the sprayer because I always have some on hand ready to go. Then I go get my bucket ready. with the nice warm water and the rags, and I'll even throw a clay bar rag in there
Yeah.
just
Yep.
because.
That's great way to kind of cut a step out is clay while you're washing.
Yep. So I clay bar rag it first with the absolute, get it all, and it pulls off 99% of that rail dust that's on there.
Yep.
And I was really shocked before we were doing soap with iron remover in it and the clay bar rag, and I'm like, this just smells awful. My hands smell awful, and it takes like 2 days for it to come off your hands fully.
Yeah. Now with your crystal wash, just spray that baby down before you wash it and you're good to go.
I like that. That's one thing that I was just like, I know I'm going to be trying to get him to interview. I'm not even going to touch it until I talk to him or they do a thing about washing cars. Then I can ask that question. So I'm happy this came first.
Yeah.
So now that we've talked about the PNS stuff, what's some ways that, let's say, people can listen or order it from you guys?
So get your local distributor. That's kind of the way we like. I mean, we have a website, pnsdetailproducts.com. But really you should support your local guy. I mean, if you've got a distributor in your area like you do with DSI, they're great people. They offer, educational classes. Like, we've been up there doing detail days and stuff for DSI. That's kind of the way I like to do it. Just go to your local guy, support local because we want our customers to support us. As detail owners, we want our people to support us rather than a big chain.
Yeah,
So that's kind of my main message to everybody is just support local, find your local. You can go on psdetailproducts.com, go to distributor locator, and you can find one in your area.
perfect. Yeah, that they're our guys are really great at DSI. So if there's anybody that starts listening to us from here in South Dakota, DSI and T, and I think they have one in North Dakota.
Yep, they've got T and then Fargo.
There we go, Fargo. They're probably some of the best in our area for distributors that I found out. And it helps. My dad went to school with actually the main person over there at DSI.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he used to have a slug bug. So next time you talk to him, ask him about a slug bug. Got a picture of him wearing a pink polo and doing the whole old school pose in front of it. All righty. Now, why did you decide to start doing detailing? What made you decide to go down this path instead of doing a normal 9 to 5 job?
So coming out of school, I worked for a rather large company as a vice president of transportation. So I was in charge of the trucking route of things. Didn't really like it. I year and a half, maybe I stuck it out. It just wasn't me. I'm not a 9 to 5 guy. But my family, my uncle and my dad had a interior repair business. So they go around the car dealerships and fix leather seats and upholstery and stuff like that. My uncle ended up having cancer and passed away. So dad kind of needed some help. So I jumped in. I love cars, always have. I didn't like doing the interior repair. It just wasn't my thing. But I did kind of find out through doing that, we were cleaning the leather seats, we were cleaning steering wheels and stuff like that. And it's like, I kind of enjoy that. So I kind of, started dabbling a little bit in detailing. Once I started, it's like I fell in love. I mean, it's like love at first sight, it's like, this is my calling. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So, my wife and I kind of stepped out and that's what we did. And, several decades later, we've done fairly well for ourselves in the industry.
That's one of the things too that a lot of detailers that I see that are starting off, they're doing the mobile thing. I don't see them after 2 years
Yeah.
because they're not making a paycheck yet. Times are hurting. Um, you know, I do part-time gig stuff. I do stuff to make money outside of the company. I'm only 3 years in, so it's like I'm building a name for myself. We have inquiries through NanoPro themselves. If there's somebody that inquires, then that does help. And that's one thing that I do like to bring to attention is find a company like PNS or, NanoPro in your area. See if, because there'll be leads that you guys probably get for different areas of like, hey, who do you know uses your guys' product? That's where I want to take my car. And that does help out. That does bring flow in. and that does help you make a name for yourself because you're using top quality products and you're not going to Walmart, and nothing against chemical guys, but you're not using just chemical guy stuff.
Yep. And one thing about the detail industry is it's easy to get into, like it really is. It's cheap to get into, but it's very hard to be successful in because there's so many.
And that's one thing too. When we took over our shop, we found out there was a detail company there. They moved out, they moved to the middle shops. Um, every single shop I was looking at, there was at least 2 to 3 detailers already in there. Okay, now you're battling with each other. And we have one detailer here by Sioux Falls and T. He's actually a good friend of ours, and we actually send people to each other all the time. And that's how it should be. Just because you're the other detailers competing with you, they may be cheaper, they may be more expensive.
Yep.
That's
Well, and when
that
you do, it's kind of a race to the bottom, and we don't need that as an industry. Um, I've got my guys around here that are, the $100 detail people. But a lot of the detail companies within, the Eastern Iowa area, we work hand in hand together. We communicate, we network, because, we're all in the same business. We all need to, make a living. So when you work together, you put out a better product for everybody, but you're going to end up, making more money for yourself in the long run.
exactly, and it's like I've tried to talk to some of them that are very full of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they sat there, and because we landed a city contract, so we got all the city cars here in our city. So, and a lot of them sat there and knocked me until I got it. Well, one detailer messed up, stopped producing like he was supposed to because he was just over his head with it. And we got it. Okay. Right now, they don't want their cars touched because I'm sorry, there's 3 inches of snow out there. They don't. So if they only knew the benefits of washing and getting your car detailed during the wintertime, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I believe that all the detailers around, especially every single area, they should be friendly with each other. So, like, if I'm booked, I can send them somewhere else that I know is going to take care of them. I tell them what I charge, and as long as we keep, the same prices within each other, we should, there shouldn't be any competition.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And like you send work to other detailers, they're going to send work back to you if they're busy. I mean, it's just the way it goes.
Because, like, I've talked to Ryan, I've networked with him. Like, we sat and talked. We're like, hey, how much do you charge for buffing? Because this is where we're at. And he's like, go up it. So you got headway. Up it, be close to me, you'll be fine. All right, cool. So that's what we started doing. Is we
Yep.
started going off of what his prices are. So this way, if he sends people to us, we'll be like, hey, this is you're not gonna pay anymore. So we're fine.
Yep.
So that does help. Now, for the first couple of years, how did it go for you?
Um, you know, it was okay. We dug into the dealership market, so I mean, we were always busy. We weren't, making a ton of money because dealerships are generally a little lower ticket item than retail work, but we always had work. Um, I'd say we really didn't start taking off until probably 3 or 4 years in, and then that's kind of when the employees started coming. We landed a pretty good gig with a big dealership group. So we had to scale pretty quick. But uh, people are hesitant to do work for dealerships, and I get it. But if you show them value, they will pay. I mean, we're doing. Um, it's one family owns, I think, 7 different brands, and we do everything for them. They don't even have a detail department. It's us, and we make a very good living off of them, and they're very happy. They pay very well.
And that's one thing too that in the beginning for me, I realized when they say don't let them tell you how to clean it. You should clean every single one of these cars like you're going to take it to a show and try to win first place. And I made that mistake in the very first year. I had a grocery store. I dealt with the crazier vans. Just wipe the dash, do this, do that. Don't worry about anything else. That was, they liked it. They didn't have to pay that much. Then when I started producing better, I was just like, you're paying me way less and I'm putting way more into these vehicles. Like, could we reassign this, retalk it? I got better product. I can clean it. I can make it look nicer. And then you get dealerships, especially that are like, this is what we want done. Don't do anything extra.
Yeah, and at a point, you kind of got to be okay with that. Um, I found a lot of detailers who end up not being successful and lasting can't put the detailer in them aside and let the business guy come out. If a dealership wants to give me $300 to detail their car, they're going to get $300 worth of work. Um, that I'm not going to turn profit away because I can't look the other way on some stuff they don't want done.
And that's like what, the dealership that I work for, he was getting a little angry at me because there would be, just some stuff on the frame and stuff like that. And I was like, you didn't pay me to go down on the ground and spray it.
Yep.
Like, well, what about the pet hair? You gave me money to vacuum it, dust it, give it a touchless wash. That's
Yeah.
all you gave me money for.
And that's the one thing that people need to realize when they're working with dealerships is you've got to have in writing, this is what you want, this is what you're getting. This is what you're paying me for. This is what I'm doing. I'm not doing more than I'm getting paid for. I mean,
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're detailers, we're perfectionists by nature, but sometimes you just gotta
And it
over.
drives me crazy when he's like, I tell him like, I just did a day cap for or a sleeper semi for him. And when I gave him the invoice for it, he was like, why was it $200? I was like, I gave you a discount still. I was like, I cleaned the inside, I cleaned the fridge, the microwave, all
Yeah.
around the bedding. I said, I normally charge $400 or $500 for that, just the inside alone. And he's like, that's just too much. I said, take it to Blue Beacon then.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling them we're just not a match. I mean, one of my very first dealership clients, it's a little small mom and pop dealership. They maybe sell 20 cars a month, but they're great people. In my first, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but our rates when we first started was $115 for a full detail inside and out. Um, and I had some sense of loyalty to him because he was my first client. So we did $115 details for him up until probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I lost my ass every time we did it, but it was a loyalty thing. And I finally had to say, hey, bud, I love you to death. You gave me my start, but we kind of got to go a different direction. And he was completely understandable. But now he brings me stuff every now and then that needs a really good polish on it, and he'll pay $300, $400, $500. I mean, so you can't be afraid to tell people, hey, we're not a good match. I mean, I think sometimes they respect you a little more for that.
So we have Furniture Mart USA. I'm sure you've heard of that company. They own all the Ashley home good stuff. We actually do their detailing for them. Just we do the interiors of the box trucks, their normal um, fleet vehicles where they go to the president's house, fix a piece of furniture or corporate cars. Um, and he pays 145. He's our first customer, but he expects $145 worth of work. But he has 23 different cars, about I think it's like 37, I want to say, box trucks between this region. So it adds up for us in the long run for it. But he always loves our work at the end of it. He never complains. If we forget something, he's like, hey, I noticed this was forgotten. Can you take a look at it? And we'd be like, yeah. So we can go look. Sometimes it's like a bleach stain that one of the employees accidentally did. It's like, hey, this is how much it's going to cost for us to re-dye that little tiny speck, or you can just leave it. So I found out, if you keep your first customer and they keep the work that they like, and you keep doing it over and over, um, it sometimes it is a good fit. It's the opposite side of the spectrum.